supposed to be. You didn't.
Well, I made a reservation months ago. I was going to pay. And I've got one for tomorrow, which I'm giving you. So it's okay. I'm going to say for a month.
No, I wish you said.
You would some news. It's all right. Bring one next time.
Yeah, you know, it's shows that Stina incorporated
My own videos. It's just more people here. That's true. You never know what you're doing. That's right. Sure.
We'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the annual budget retreat meeting of the West Valley City Council. This February 19th, 2026. We're beginning our meeting at 2:02 p.m. at the Utah Cultural Celebration Center. Members present are Councilmember Wood, Councilmember Norfelt, Councilmember Weston, Councilmember Harmon, Councilmember Christensen, and Councilmember Hune is excused, or is he online? He's online. Councilmember Hune is online. We're also joined at the table with our city manager, Mr. Peely, John Flores, our assistant city manager, and Jim Welch, our finance director. I'll now turn the time over to Mr. Peely for our opening introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. You might have to stand up there. I'm quick though. I'm quick in this thing, so maybe I'll just go ahead. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for being here, making the time, taking the time to be here, and everybody here that's put this together. There's only something real brief I want to mention before we move on with our agenda. If I were to have only just one meeting in the entire city throughout the entire year, this would be it. This is probably the most important, if not the most important meeting, in my opinion, that we could never have as a city staff and council. And if I were to identify a purpose for today's meeting and tomorrow's meeting, I could sum it up in maybe one word. And I was thinking about this one word, that's alignment. And one of the most important reasons for having it, and if we could keep that in mind, the whole goal here is alignment. And it's there's so many different ways we can use that word here. One is to align ourselves with our objectives, right? Primarily, we talked about last year our five goals in our strategic plan, our five focuses: community, diversity, attractiveness, prosperity, and reputation. And hopefully today, as you see some of our presentations, you'll see that we've taken as staff, try to align that with what our projects have been, what our focuses have been throughout this. Really, it's just the first 6 months, 7 months. We're into the fiscal year, but we'll be talking about that. The other thing is aligning, having staff here, our executive team here, being able to align with what your vision is, Mayor and Council, for this this upcoming year. So in the agenda, we'll have presentations that will talk about things that we've done this year to align and things that we're doing, and then significant issues that we need to attack to be able to align. We'll have our comprehensive plan. As we continue to complete that, we'll have one more thing we need to align with, and our budget retreat will look a little different. That'll be a focus as we get that completed. So the other thing I want to mention is along the same lines as alignment. It's been said when it comes to understanding what a city values, if we were to go to a city and we want to know any city, including ours, we were to want to know what our values are, what our vision is, what the objectives are, we wouldn't go to the mission statement or vision statement, whatever we have on our boards. We would go to the budget, because that's where the money that's where we put our money where our mouth is. And so we want to also make sure that our money, our budget, as we continue to create our budget and develop our budget, that it is a reflection of what your vision is, reflection of what we value, what you value. And so hopefully today, again, if we have one purpose that we get out of this day and a half, is that we walk away with alignment, not necessarily agreement amongst everybody, right? But that it's aligned, that our goals are aligned with our budget objectives, and we're aligned with what your vision is for our staff. With that, I want to invite Abby up. She's going to kick us off with our icebreaker before we get into our agenda. I really want to point out, thank Abby. She's finance, of course, is over our budget. We have our budget committee, and Abby's been designated as the one to put this all together. So we can give a big round of applause to Abby. Of course, we'll thank all those that have been involved in the team and putting this all together. But we'll start off with Abby's kick.
Hi, hello, everyone. I'm Abby Smock. I work in the finance department, and they bring me when you want to have fun and you want to eat. So right now, I'm gonna hopefully get this like little lively thing going. Before we dive into like strategy and numbers, oh, that is right in my face. I thought we'd do like a little reminder that we once were young and maybe a little optimistic, and maybe we made some questionable choices in our lives of hair or style. So I'm gonna show a photo, and I want you guys to guess who you think it is. And whoever that person is, I'm going to have you spin the wheel. And there's a question on here. They're very generic, super not hard. You can give me one answer, that's fine. It's more about just having a little bit of fun. So who do you think that is? Is that you, Don?
It is.
That is you. That's 1962.
Yeah, junior year.
That's great. Okay, spin the wheel.
It's awesome.
So let me tell you some of the questions actually. If you had to swap jobs with someone in City Hall for a week, who would you pick? What's a food you didn't like as a kid, but you love now? What's a small thing that instantly makes your day better? If you could instantly become really good at one hobby, what would it be? What's your go-to road trip snack? What was your first job? If your life right now had a soundtrack playing, what song would it be? And what's your most irrational pet peeve? Okay, so those are the questions, and you'll spin it. So just flick it. Okay, what was your first job?
My first job, I was a Well, let's see, I was a sweeper for the school district. Kept their kitchen clean at night. And I was a bookkeeper for a company in Salt Lake.
You did that all at the same time?
Well,
You were busy.
bookkeeper was more in the summer when they weren't using the kitchen in the school district.
So did that job help you in your life now?
I can still add two and two.
That's good. We're talking about numbers today, so that's really important. Thank you, Don. All right, next. It could be any one of you. Who's that? Anyone know? You can't tell? I could totally tell. Look at the look at the smile. Yeah.
Dan.
Nope. Right.
Eric.
Thanks. Now repeating. I know. Everyone's talking. Okay. If your life right now had a soundtrack, what song would be playing? No swear words. Just sing it.
Just sing it.
Just say the word.
Xanadu.
Good one. That's good. I wonder what I would pick for you.
That's awesome.
All right, next one. Are you ready? Are you ready? Who's that? Who's it?
Wow.
I know, it's awful. So 1990. Wow. Wow. I should be at pop, huh? Okay, what's a food you didn't like as a kid, but love now? Onions. Onions? That's like just onions? Or onions on things? Onions on things. Oh, okay. That's a good one, actually, because most kids don't like onions, right? Wow, you're so cute. Look at you. You're so cute. Okay, you ready for the next one? It is 88. I know that.
The hair is still there, yeah. Good.
If you could instantly become really good at one hobby, what would you pick?
Oh.
Good answer.
It's a guy thing to say. But okay, I'll accept it. So nice talking.
Yeah.
So you're not good at it now, is that what you're saying?
There's always room for improvement.
That's true.
He's not on the tour.
In your tours, right there.
Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed.
Oh, wait, I gotta say the year. 92.
Really?
Sorry. If you had to swap jobs with someone at City Hall for a week, who would you pick?
What's the question?
If
Swap jobs.
you had to swap jobs with someone at City Hall for a week, not like day, not a moment, like a week, who would you pick? And why?
Definitely nothing to do with finance.
It really is hard.
It's very cool to drive like a snow plow or one of those
Like with
sweepers or
parks?
Fire engine trucks.
You're like a kid at heart that like want like a Tonka truck, right? You just wanna
I would do all those things
the
without
machinery.
Still.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. You're so cute. Look at that. Huh,
I just think that.
nope. That's very interesting. But you guys said that.
No.
That's not you?
No,
What?
I never owned that. Nope. Not me. You
This
might
was,
think it is, but
this
it's
was
not.
in your marriage, announcement online.
Nope, not mine.
Super sorry about that. That could happen. I did have a picture of you in your wedding dress, but you couldn't really see her face.
There we go.
But she was really cute. She was super cute. So sorry,
That's okay.
sorry about that. I should have said that I could possibly not have gotten the right one. But you still get to spin the wheel.
Alright.
Ooh. If you're live right now, let's do another one.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
Which one would you like?
Whatever one. Just do it again. Just do it again. That's okay. What is your go-to road trip snack?
Nikos.
What's that?
Everybody else calls them Necos.
Oh.
Nikos. My mom called them Nikos. They're like eating flavored chop. Yeah. But we had all of our nights.
Oh, goodness.
Who's that?
Cindy.
Cindy and
Wow.
Al.
Yeah, handsome.
Wow.
I love that
Is
picture.
that my husband?
Yeah, it is.
I hope so.
Evan, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Is that a great picture?
Yeah.
Big picture.
So. Spin the wheel, madam. I won't bite, I promise.
I survived the picture, so
Let's do another one.
I know one that I.
What's a small thing that instantly makes your day better?
When my granddaughter calls me at 8:15 in the morning, and asks to FaceTime me.
Oh,
And it's like, I'm not, yeah, there's, that's okay, grandma.
oh, that's so
So
good.
that makes my day better.
It's all about family, right?
Yeah.
It is. Karen, I feel so awful. I wish I had the other picture I could put up.
It's just fine. I'm happy to not have.
Who's that?
Lars.
By the way, Lars, your wife, smoking hot. Like, Jana, right? Hot. Her picture. Woo! Lucky guy. Very, okay. I know well. Oh, what was your first job?
First job was a paper boy.
Oh, where? See if anyone's house is
It
built
was
for,
in Price.
in Price, really?
I was only 9 years old.
Did you walk it or were you on a bike?
We actually, it was a family thing and,
Oh.
we did it out of the back of the truck and I would sit on the tailgate.
Very cool. Ready for the next one?
Geico
She's.
It's the only one I could find, Jim. It's the only one I could find. That was 1983. That's him and his wife Annette. Spin it. What were you thinking right then, Jim?
I was thinking, holy crap, I won the lottery.
Yeah, she is pretty great.
What was wrong with her decision?
Get your, don't touch your, just don't touch your other hand.
Whatever, take that.
I'm gonna find something else for you.
Which one?
Oh,
would you like?
what's your most irrational pet peeve?
My most irrational pet peeve. Oh, that's a tough one because I have so many.
It's kind of true.
You know, it probably has to do with traffic. And I'm sorry to admit this, but I like to be the guy, I've read studies about it, it's most efficient. If you do zoom up the left lane to merge until the very last, when lanes are merging, so people that don't do that, and they sit way back and try to keep the traffic from moving forward.
And I wanna kill people like you.
Yep.
Okay, Awesome. It's so cute.
So what year was that?
That was, oh, sorry, that's mine.
That was before I grew my hair longer, so this was my junior year. Sophomore year.
This was, I think, in 1990. Oh, 1987. Orem, right? Orem High School?
Mountain View, in
Mountain.
yeah. That's
Okay, you don't have to touch it with your hands. but- There you go. What, if you could instantly become really good at one hobby, what would you pick?
Oh, probably some instrument like guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music,
Yeah.
ukulele. I could see you with a ukulele and a towel. That's awesome. Okay, so just remember, I might be wrong. Just so we're clear. It is, right? That's not. It is, right? That has to be you. I don't, see, I can't take you seriously. I don't know. 1978, and it was, what school? Hillcrest? That's you, right? That's really not me. Come on, is that really not you?
That's totally.
Okay, let's just pretend.
Still have to adorable impulse.
That's it.
Road trips, nah. Were you kidding or brave? And go back on.
Probably gonna be eaten at that point.
Okay.
Shouldn't be.
After you're done, fighting fire.
Unless it's supposed to.
Ooh, that's a good one. What do you say? That's a really good one. Okay, so I very much apologize for those that I couldn't find pictures of you. I looked for everyone. Some of you are really hiding your profile everywhere. But just so we're all very clear and up on the up and up, this was mine. Okay, so we all remember that was 1993 in California. So that is everything. I love you all. You guys are awesome. Hopefully you learned some things about each other and you felt more comfortable talking, and we can go forward with all the things we want to on this strategy session.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna turn the time over to Heather Well for the fun and exciting financial review and update.
So glad you couched it that way.
Numbers are fun.
Too much of a disappointment to anyway of you. A lot of it's gonna kind of be recap, but hopefully there's some information in here that you'll find enlightening. Hopefully it provides you some resources for the rest of the discussion. And first I want to start off. This is the kickoff of planning for the next year, right? And kind of all roads lead back to finance. Abby told me not to get off script, so I'm trying not to do that. I don't do that very well, and it always makes me go long. But there's a quote that I ran into the other day that I thought was very apropos as we go through our projections and trying to figure out what kind of resources we're gonna have like next year. We also just completed the meetings just day or so ago, a couple of days ago, with all of the departments going through their needs and their asks for this next year. We're in the process of compiling those. Like they do every year, they come up into the millions of dollars. There's always more needs than there are resources. And then it comes back to management, figure out how we can employ those and accomplish the goals that the city council comes up with. So it's not an easy task, but I think it's necessary. But I like this quote. This is by Yogi Berra. He says, "It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future." And I'd like to say that's probably very, very true. So we'll start out with those and I'll do a little bit of review. We had, this is probably the best slide that I could find that kind of summarizes the current financial condition of the state. One of the big questions we always have is a recession coming? I don't know if this doesn't include the projections for a recession, but there's a number of predictors that we use to determine what the future is gonna be like, and we're looking at least 12 to 18 months. One of those is like the inverted yield curve. That's when short-term rates actually pay a higher rate than long-term rates and investments. We did have an inverted yield curve last year, and that's the first time in the last 6 or 7 times that it didn't turn right into a recession. So there is no model that's going to tell us what's going to happen. But suffice it to say with this one, we're showing stability, and we're showing not necessarily a slowdown, we're just showing slow growth. Our revenue sensitivity is tied to the consumer activity, means approximately 40% of our revenues are sales tax driven, so overall sales tax tends to move quarter to quarter with consumer confidence and discretionary spending. We should expect variability to continue and a little bit of volatility. There's nothing on the horizon that says that we're gonna fall through the basement with employment numbers. The GDP is supposed to moderate. We're gonna see a little bit of downturns. I think some of you were in the leadership seminar the other day where we had a prominent economist come and give his presentations, but you've heard this on the news. We're not expecting bad things. I guess that's the message out of this one. We're expecting things to slow a little bit. We're expecting rates to continue to come down a little bit. But we're not expecting to have a big boom like we did in the last couple of years. So how that translates to West Valley City is we tend to follow Utah's economy pretty closely. We're a very cosmopolitan community that we've got a lot of good things going on because we have a large base for our sales tax, which is about 40% of our revenue. It tends to moderate a little bit better than the rest of the country. So I think we're actually going to be in pretty good shape. I don't see anything in here that's going to cause us problems in the future. As a review, and I know I show this slide to you quite a bit, but this is kind of a reminder. This is what the general fund looks like. We have revenues and expenditures. As you recall, we are required to have a balanced budget. That's by state code. The federal government is not, and that's why we end up with these shutdowns that happen periodically. But we have to come up with a budget where revenues equal expenditures. This provides a little bit of a high level approach. We have a budget of about $120 million in both revenues and expenditures. On the revenue side, there are 2 sources that really drive the general fund. First one, sales tax, that represents about 39% of our revenue. Sales tax is our single largest revenue source. While it seems to have been strong, it's economically sensitive and can fluctuate with consumer behavior and broad economic conditions. Then we have property taxes, and that provides greater stability. It also is more predictable compared to sales tax. Under truth taxation, this revenue remains flat unless the council takes action. That's why we have this discussion every year, and it's the one tool that the legislature is given that we can actually have an impact on. It's also one that is under a lot of scrutiny, both at the state level and local level, to make sure that it's used efficiently and that the resources that we derive from property tax are used in a way to the benefit of the taxpayer. The other portions are utility taxes and other user fees. Utility taxes make up about 12%. They're pretty steady. However, sometimes they're influenced by the weather. They're influenced by the Public Service Commission. Things like gas rates, power rates, and electricity. How is this spent? The budget expenditures, about our total budget is $198 million. Of that, $120 million is the general fund. The general fund is the general operating budget of the city. That's where most of the expenses occur. That's the portion of the budget that funds ongoing core services such as police, public works, fire, parks, administration, community services, administration. It's also the portion that's most structurally sensitive to inflation and revenue variability. So that's where we receipt the tax revenue into, and it shows up in the general fund. The remaining 40% of the budget spread across separate funds that are legally restricted for operational and are self-contained. Examples might be for the redevelopment agency, where we bring in tax revenue from projects that are within redevelopment agencies areas, and that tax money can only be used for certain things.
That's why they're held outside of the general fund. We also have other operations like the arena fund, which is operated as a business. And we look at it that way, though we own it and we do oversee it. We have sanitation, stormwater, city roads also, all of those are restricted. It's important to note that many of these funds are restricted by statute, voter approval, by contract or fee structure. And they can't simply be redirected to support general fund operations. We have to jump through certain hoops. As I go through these things, if you have questions about any of these particulars, please feel free to ask them. I don't want to, cause you to kind of go to sleep. I don't know also what you feel comfortable with, and if you have questions, it's a good time to go over those. Yes, Will, please.
Why wouldn't the fitness center fall in the general?
The fitness center, when it was conceived, I think it was 1998, 1996 in that area. I wasn't with the city, but I do recall, after having conversations with staff, how it was set up. The intent was that, it would be run like a business and that we'd be able to focus on what the revenues were coming in and what expenditures were going out. So it would show if this is breaking even, and that's how we contain it as a separate fund. They bring in membership fees, they bring in drop-ins. They also get a distribution from the general fund. So we pull money from general fund revenues and put them in to subsidize the fitness center. So that gives us a clearer picture of the true operations of the fitness center. And that's why most of these are broke out in their own funds, like the golf courses, for example. Good question.
But are they totally restricted as being able to move, if there's an excess in the fitness center, it can be moved back to the general fund?
It kind of depends on the type of fund that it is. For example,
Just like the fitness center, the golf courses, the ones that are actually entities we own.
yeah, those are very easy to bring funds back because technically they're just general operations of the city. We've elected to carve them out. If they were carved out by statute like the RDA or C roads or sanitation fund, well, sanitation is kind of a quasi fund. We could pull the funds out of those entities very easily. So yeah, if they pulled a profit or if we didn't need to give them as much subsidy, we have a lot of flexibility with those. Yep. Incidentally, as far as a budget discussion goes, anytime we move funds from one of those operations, it has to come to the city council. The city council has to do a budget opening or a budget adjustment to authorize that transfer. So staff just can't make those transfers as they feel appropriate. It's a council level decision. Okay. How's the money spent? This is one of my favorite slides because it kind of details where all the money goes. And 47% of our costs of operation are personnel costs. We are a service organization. It illustrates the total cost of the city operations. It's important to note that the vast majority is personnel, contractual obligations, and infrastructure costs, not necessarily discretionary spending. So you look at your personal budget at home and you have a piece of the pie and you say, this much goes to our mortgage, this much goes to our utilities, this is for gas. Then often you have, hopefully, a little bit of cushion. It's called discretionary spending. Most of the spending in the city is not discretionary. It's usually by contract, it's usually personnel costs. We do have a little bit of discretionary income, but typically it's pretty much all paid for. To kind of quote Dave Ramsey, every dollar kind of has a name to it. So personnel costs represent the 47%. That's about $101 million. That reflects the labor intensive nature of the municipal government. Police officers, firefighters, public works crews, park staff, administrative support. Our services are people driven. That's what we do. As salaries, health insurance, retirement contributions, and market adjustments increase, the impact on the budget is structural, not optional. Personnel costs is the single largest cost driver of our organization. Any questions about that, guy?
What are the sold services transfers?
I'm sorry, the sold services? Okay, so we talked about transferring money from one fund to another.
Is that?
So that's what it is. You'll notice that's a negative.
Right.
That means there's a credit coming in from one of the other operations. It might be for debt service or it might be for administrative costs. An example of that might be, let's take one of the operations like stormwater, for example. they have the costs of operating their organization, but then some of their costs are soft costs, their administration, their legal, their whatever. We can create a sold service that moves some of their revenues over to help cover that. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Giving an idea of what's happened with the general fund operations. This chart shows a long-term trend of the city's three primary revenue sources. With property tax, utility tax, and sales tax. Over time, sales tax has grown the fastest on an average rate of about 4.8% on this chart. But it's also the most volatile and sensitive to economic cycles. This is conglomerate here. Oops, let me see, I got the wrong one. Let's go back here. Okay. Property tax has grown more steadily, about 3.3%, which is interesting because property tax can only be increased by action of the city council. There is a slight increase that we get for new growth. New growth is defined as new construction only. So it's not the increased value of a home or the increased value of a property just because of inflation. So we also don't have new growth included in here for areas in the redevelopment agencies because those revenues, they basically are what drive increment. So for the most part, everything in property tax is something that's occurred because of council action. So over this period, we've actually seen about 3.3% increase. Utility tax has grown the slowest, about 1.6% over this period. It's largely user driven. There are some impacts from the climate. While sales taxes help drive revenue growth in strong economic years, it fluctuates. Property tax remains the city's most stable and predictable revenue source. I think I may have skipped over this slide. I just wanted to make a few comments on the growth of the general fund. So the general fund is about $120 million and it reflects inflation, benefit costs, service demands, and periodic policy decisions by the city council. So as questions come to the city council and the staff about needs for new services or increased services, that's taken into this account, anything that's in the general fund. That's average an annual growth of about 8%. So you can see a little bit of a disconnect there between regular revenues and the growth of general fund. The growth isn't always linear, but includes several years when property tax adjustments were implemented to address accumulated cost pressures. In recent years, post-pandemic inflation and public safety compensation needs accelerated that expenditure growth. So there is some volatility in there. While 2026 budget reflects more moderate 4.1% increase, overall the trend demonstrates that municipal costs rise consistently over time, and maintaining long-term structural balance requires forward thinking and revenue realignment as needed. That's just kind of the nature of running the city. This slide is one that I like to bring up during this retreat. It's kind of an interesting one. We talk about, okay, how does the city's growth, particularly property tax, compared to the municipal cost index, the CPI? I think you're very familiar with the CPI, that's the consumer price index. There's an index that's put together called the MCI, which is a municipal cost index. And that takes into account the CPI plus the producer price index. And I start to say those words and I can see people's eyes start to close. So I apologize for the terminologies, but those are the things that measure how much the cost of doing business in the city is increasing. So we've taken those indexes and then I plotted them against the increases in the property tax revenue. So each one of these bumps, you can see that it's relatively flat until the city council takes action. The slope of the line, which I put in there because when I've talked to you about the projections have been kind of interesting, indicates that, for example, the municipal cost index is increasing about 2.4% on an annual basis. The CPI, there I'm getting in trouble because I'm going off the narrative. The CPI looks like we are about 2.1%, and the truth in taxation is about 2.0% over this period. So we're staying a little bit behind where we probably should be without any action. And eventually that causes the need for these increases, periodic jumps in property tax revenue, because that's the one we have the influence over. So. Any questions about this guy? Okay. This one just shows the amount of property tax revenue that we bring in the last 11 years. We have brought $26 million, then we had property tax increase. Had another one in 22 that brought us up to 34, and then we had just one recently that brought us about $36 million. You'll recall from the first slide that I showed on the revenues that we bring in that the percentage that we bring in property tax has been decreasing as it compares to the revenue that we bring in from sales tax. That does create a little bit of an imbalance in the way that we get our revenues in. It's all about what the tolerance is at city council and operations. How do we want to structure that? That's a decision on what we feel comfortable with. Another important slide has to do with the amount of reserves. Now, we talked about fund balance, and I think right now there's legislation up on the Hill that they keep messing with, that they go from 25 to 35%, and then they say, well, you have to keep certain amounts with reserves, and this is basically our rainy day fund. Right now, the parameters on where we have to keep our fund balance is between 5% minimum and 35% maximum. The minimum right now, based on a $120 million general fund, would be a balance of about $6 million. The maximum of 35%, which is what the current law says, would be about $42 million. Our last ACFR, which we reviewed with the audit committee, and will be coming to the city council for discussion as we do that, the fraud and risk assessment, I think it's next week, shows that we ended up with a fund balance of about $19 million. And that gives us about 17%. So these areas in here are where we had some growth that had to do with the pandemic. We received some ARPA funds. We also had, we pulled back in our expenditures significantly. We also had some increases in sales tax. Everybody was staying home and using their credit cards. Thank you very much. And so that made a big difference for us. Over the last couple of years, we've had planned expenditures. There are a lot of pendant needs and demand, and a lot of that was spending some of those reserves. So that's what's impacted that. While current levels remain compliant with state, reductions in reserves would reduce the city's ability to absorb revenue volatility, unforeseen expenditures, and economic downturn. So that truly is our cushion against economic shocks. It's to be used wisely. The state's given us guidelines to make sure that we don't get too much. People aren't overtaxed, but also we have to maintain enough to make sure that we're fiscally strong. Couple of things that I guess I'm blowing through this pretty quickly. Just wanted to talk to you about debt. Rather than include the debt payment schedules, which we've done in the past, it makes a really complicated chart, and I'd be happy to provide that if we wanted to have further discussion sometime. This is basically the debt that we have outstanding in the city by principal balance. Last year, remember, we had quite a bit of discussion over the Maverick Center and Cultural Center debt. The principal balance on that's about $12.7 million. However, the total cost of that will pay out through 2035. And I think we're at about $48 million by the time, $49 million by the time we get paid. Very similar to your house mortgage. You buy your house for a certain cost and then you make payments over time. Total cost is usually greater than that. That's how most of these work. We have a number of different bonds that are on here. I think right now our total debt, $92 million. Some years ago, I think most of you were here when we had a discussion of what's the appropriate level of debt to carry as a city. My recollection is it was somewhere around $150, $160 million, depending on what you felt was, it was used for. Just saying that you have a level of debt doesn't mean that that's necessarily good balance. Good governance. It's what are you using that for? So as infrastructure costs escalate and as we need things that are replaced, debt is a it's a tool that we have in our toolbox that we can use. We do have a couple of opportunities. We met with our municipal advisor and then also with some underwriters in the last couple of weeks. I don't have the data to show you today, but we'll be discussing that with the city manager and staff. Is we do have some opportunities for refunding. We do aggressively look for ways to reduce the interest that we're paying on all of our bonded debt. And there are some opportunities now where we might be able to provide some savings. The rules only allow us to refund or to refinance debt once when it becomes callable, and we've got some that's available right now that we might be able to save some money on, so I'll bring those to you. I just want you to know that we actively look for ways to save the money for the city in interest payments. We do have some leasing that's outstanding, about $6 million worth of leases. That comes in a lot of different forms. A lot of it's fire equipment, heavy equipment. We have the energy savings projects, which we did, but were spread across several of our facilities a number of years ago, and this gives you an idea of what we have outside of leases. And I have pretty well gone through everything I had. If there's any questions or discussions, I hope that gives you some kind of an idea of where we're at. As I mentioned, as the budget committee that we've put together, we've discussed the revenues that are available. We met with the departments. Preliminarily, we're putting the numbers together for what the 2027 budget will look like. We are about, we've got several $1 million in needs. We'll need to figure out how to do that. We'll come to you with solutions when we get those numbers. Yes, please.
On the debt. When I look at your second slide and it has debt service at 4.9. But then when I pull up the all sources of revenue. Total debt is 13 something. 18.5. What's the source of that? Between the 4.9 and the 13, what's paying back that debt service?
Sure. Yeah, so when you look at debt service, all of the debt services isn't included in that section of the general fund. Seems like that would make sense, right? That it should be there. But the way that we actually operate it, and this makes sense too, I'm not saying one makes sense and one does not, is that some of the debt is included in the other funds. For example, redevelopment agency fund debt is included in the redevelopment agency. We may have other funds, for example, the ambulance fund, that they may have general fund debt that we transfer money from the ambulance fund to pay the general fund. So that's the mix there. Most of it is redevelopment agency. But to get a picture of the total debt service, this number, when I had this slide here, is indicative of all the funds, but the money to pay these payments isn't all centered in the general fund.
That helps. 13.5. It's the debt service for this.
That would be everything.
When you mentioned earlier an appropriate level of debt for a city our size, are you looking at the I guess asset level of the city or the debt service versus revenues?
So that discussion was a cash flow discussion. There are legal parameters on how much general obligation debt a municipality can handle. Nick, you remember what our limit is? I recall it's about $320 million. Okay, either way.
It's $0 in general.
Yeah, we have none, but it gives us, general obligation debt is something we would put out to the voters. And we have capacity by statute for general obligation that exceeds $300 million. The discussion of around $160 million, which actually goes back to our previous mayor when we were discussing levels. And it's kind of a finger in the wind what's appropriate. Not necessarily based on cash flow, based on current issues. We're probably in a different situation right now. It's what our comfort level is and what we feel like we need to finance and pay for. But that 300 plus is the debt number that rating agencies would typically look at. They always ask us, what's your general obligation debt? We'll say none. They say, okay, your limit's 3. 300 and something $million.
800.
Oh, was it? Oh, jeez, okay, well, it's gone up a little bit since I looked last. $800 million, like.
That's based on the property value of all property.
Yeah. That's an
4% of the taxable property.
Basically, it's been a while since I've looked at it. Tells you how relevant I feel that number is. It's like when you go into the bank and the bank says, oh, you can borrow up to 40% of your take home pay. It's like, would that be a smart thing to do? Probably not.
We could just raise the debt ceiling.
There you go. That's true. Well, it's also like property tax rates. There's a cap that we can raise the property tax to. It's 0.007% of the taxable value of property. Well, we're like 0.0022324 or something like that. Would it be wise to go to the 7? I don't know. But could we legally do it? Yes, we could. It's a good question.
Tom's got his hand up.
Oh, right there.
No. How do I access that? Do I do this?
Tom has his hand up.
Oh, you.
Hold on. Jim,
Yes, Tom.
what percentage sales tax we had in 2024?
What percentage of the general fund in 2024 was our sales tax?
The sales
Is that what
tax,
you're asking?
yeah, sales tax. 2025 is 39, right, percent, but I want to know 2024. By
I just
chance?
happen to have that, so.
Oh, well, you can give it to me later, but be okay, but.
Oh, I got it right here, Tom. We had approximately, well, you mean our percentage of the general fund?
A sales tax only.
Yeah, I can give you numbers. We had $43 million right now. We're projecting $47 million. I don't have the percentage. And that was on $109 million. So we're probably in the neighborhood of about 38 to 39% of our general fund budget. That's my guess. I can get you the actual number, but that's probably pretty darn close.
Is that in the 2024?
That's in 2024.
Okay. And the number you just gave it to us in the 2025, right?
In 2025, we have, yeah, let's see where we got that one. Yeah, I don't have that in the printout that I had here, but I had it in my previous chart. Let's go back here. Okay, sales tax, we showed $47 million is our projected, and we're gonna hit our projection this year. So it'll be about 47 million. And but yeah, we've had some pretty good growth in the last couple of years. We're expecting that to moderate given the situation with the economy in the next year and this year, actually. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jim? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's definitely.
Nobody went to sleep, so we're good.
John Flores to give us the rest of the program.
Thank you. I'm not personally gonna give you the rest of the program. I've got lots of help coming, but just want to say a few things as we kind of introduce this section. So as Ipo mentioned earlier, we figured out some strategic objectives last year with you, and we wrote those down and we remembered them. And so we wanted to bring some projects to your attention. Some you may know a lot about, some maybe you know nothing about. By no means is this everything that our staff did last year, but some things that we're proud of, some things we wanted to highlight and bring to your attention either by reminding you or letting you know about them. So first, we're gonna bring up Dan Johnson to go over some road projects, some public works projects. Some of them, again, like obviously Lancer Way is one that we know a lot about. But there may be some others that we just kind of wanted to highlight and point out to you, and we're happy and excited that we were able to get those done last year. So, come on up, Dan.
Thank you. Good to be with you this afternoon. Yeah, we'd love to talk about Lancer Way since actually I'm thrilled that it's done. There's nothing like having every city employee drive past one of your biggest projects every single day, and it's really nice to be out of the limelight a little bit on that one. So, but I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. It's a much different road than it once was, and we're grateful to the engineering division for their work with the designers, the design team, and contractors to get that built. And we're now left with a great pavement section. Yes, Mayor.
So I did run in to a resident, in a totally weird location, but he was saying that his relatives that come in from other cities has commented to him that the appearance of West Valley City has elevated over the last couple of years. And he attributes it to the 4100 South and all the road improvements we've done that way.
Yeah, it does make.
People are noticing,
Oh, I appreciate that. That's.
and Lancer Way is beautiful.
It is, it's great, and it's great, we were able to bury the power, get the streetscape with the lights and the trees, it looks lovely. And so we're grateful for that, and I'll talk about it all day long, because I think it turned out great. If you want, we can keep going if you want, but we'll go to the next slide. The overlay project, this is a pretty big overlay project, there were quite a few roads that were overlaid, I won't read all of those, but you've seen them and experienced them, but it was a great project, and overlays, we get a lot of bang for the buck. You can take a pavement that is in pretty rough shape from a ride perspective and turn it around overnight. If we've got the conditions, the subgrade conditions, if you can overlay a road without reconstructing it, then that's wonderful. And then speed humps, of course, the council changed the criteria on speed humps. We've got a lot more qualifying lately, and we'll anticipate more to qualify as requests come in. So Stanton, 4100 South, and Westshire, and 2520 all had to be installed with this last overlay project. And then Parkway Boulevard out west between 5600 West and 6400 West. It's another beautiful road with great streetscape, and we're pleased with how that turned out as well. Most of that was built with federal funds, and definitely an improvement for that part of the town. Oh, this is the video. Great. Sorry. Didn't even realize that. Kobe put this together for me, so I really shouldn't take much of the credit. I was on vacation and came back to a well-prepared presentation, but this is awesome. And then just a few other things that we've done. They've been smaller projects, but that safe sidewalk project on 3500 South at 5400 West, the Brighton Canal drainage project, that one's, you might not appreciate that one, but we do, because as the Brighton Canal's been abandoned, it's been kind of a maintenance mess for us, because we had two drainage ditches on either side of an old canal. Canal went away, and now we consolidated it into an awesome, easily maintainable one pipe, and so it's great. And then the 6800 West Pond overflow, just out by the parks maintenance facility, we've done some drainage improvements. You can see that picture on the bottom left, that we've got a nice bridge or a bigger culvert that has actually the capacity that we need to move water across that access road for Magna Water's treatment plant. And again, you might not appreciate this one, but to us, this is a big deal. This has been a big headache for a long time, and we're grateful that it's done. And then some other agencies, we've been working quite closely with UTA and UDOT on the Mid-Valley Express that is coming this spring, and then of course Bangor Highway 4700 South. We're pleased with how that turned out as well, generally. So that's all I have to share, unless you guys have something else. Okay, thank you.
I did forget to mention before Dan came up, obviously we've kind of prepared an overview of things, but we welcome any question, any comment. If you want to dive into things further, feel free. We're ready and prepared for that. So yeah, we got a lot of good things done. Dan and his guys worked their butts off and they accomplished a lot last year. And those things are always exciting. And then they get done and then we start driving on roads and we kind of forget about it and we're happy with it. But tomorrow, Dan will bring you some more exciting stuff of kind of what's to come next year, projects we're looking at. So that'll be exciting as well. Next, we're gonna bring up Chief Evans to talk about a couple cool things. I know the blood transfusions you guys have heard about. So he's got kind of an update on that, which is really cool to see. And then we have a new unit to talk to you about and introduce you to. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah. Little bit out. I don't think I missed one. No. So first off, I'm gonna go over with the new program we started. We were looking at our call volumes, which last year we hit an all-time high with our call volumes. We're increased quite a bit. Our goal, we were looking at how can we reduce some of the wear and tear on heavy apparatus. Most of you, when we come say I need a new fire truck, you say, well, it's only 5 years old, but we put a lot of miles on it. We decided to put in a squad. This is basically a pickup truck. We have 2 advanced EMTs on it. We started this program January 1st to see if it would work. So we decided, let's look at one area. So we looked at the area on the east side of the city. Basically, it's Bangerter for the river, both north and south of where we're at. This low acuity unit, as we call, goes on those calls that really it's just a transport. It's lift assist. It's the low calls that, you know, it's not heart related, not anything like that. So in the 2 months we've done this, we've reduced the call volume on those heavy apparatus by 35%. It seems to be working. This unit also goes on fires. So we're putting 2 more people on fires. This was made possible by the people that we hired last year. This year, we were able to get a SAFER grant. We are starting a new recruit class. In May, if this program keeps working, we're going to put another unit in the center of the city. Basically, it'll take care of some of the northwest side of the city. With the numbers we have, we figure we'll be up around 55% reduction in heavy apparatus and responsive crew members. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have with that. We were able to work with dispatch. We're breaking down the types of calls a little better, whether they're minor calls or major calls. So still on the critical calls, the heavy apparatus are still going with medics, with paramedics. But we've got this unit working. We're the only ones that's done it. So I'm hoping, so far it's worked. It's 2 months. But with these numbers, I didn't think we would hit in 2 months, but we did it. The next one is the blood program that we started. In 1 month, we had 5 successful transfusions. We continue to lead this. We're the only ones in the valley that have this program. The blood is carried with the battalion chief that will respond to any call throughout the city. We're partners with Intermountain Healthcare. They are very pleased with what we're doing. They're looking at expanding it. One of the things that we're going to do is, you see at the bottom, it's called Arms Out. One of the things they've asked us to do, and they've done in other states, is we're gonna do a blood drive at one of the fire stations. So people will donate blood, and it's just helping us. It's helping the blood bank that supplies the blood we have. Those are two of the biggest programs that we've started, and I hope it works. I think it will. And like I say, I'm proud of our people. These two things were the only ones in the valley we're doing right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions with those.
So these are two new programs we started. How many, if off the top of your head, how many new programs have we started in our fire department since that you can remember? And I mean new, like, I mean new across the state, like we're the first fire department to do it.
Just in my time as a chief, probably 12 to 15. New programs that we started. First being the ambulance and the paramedic program that we brought to the city.
And today I saw the Instagram post about the whole blood program. And that was very good, very well done. Do you know where the first blood drive, which station it's going to be at?
Station 74.
So which one?
Signed
But
up.
which address is that?
Next to Fitness Center, 3100 South, 5600 West.
Centennial.
Sweet. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. Next, we are going to have Paula Milgar come up. A couple of you are aware, maybe all of you, last year we started a leadership seminar. And it went so well, we said, let's keep doing it. So that's been assigned under Human Resources as kind of a leadership development, employee development program for our staff, but we decided to make it bigger and grander, and I believe it was very successful. So Paula's gonna come up to talk about that a little bit and introduce you to what we're doing and what we're gonna continue to do.
Good afternoon, everyone. Down, up. Okay, there we go. Just so you know, it's led by HR, but these are all our committee members, and there's one member of each department. Most department heads, Lauren and Harold are part of our committee too, and Harold is the past president for the next few years. So with that, our presenters were Mayor Lang, that welcome everyone to our seminar. Deidre Anderson, the Lieutenant Governor of Utah, she was very nice. Courtney Ray, the head of the stakeholders outreach, she presented on AI. Our Kelly, Luke Falk, our Deputy Chief Fosmo, and our own Roxanne Venuco, and David Hart is a professor at BYU, and Robert Spindler, who is a senior economist at Science Bank. Sponsoring, we had Morton, Mission Square, Wheeler, and On Point. Number of attendees, we had a total of 111 attendees, internal 80 and external 31. They came from South Jordan, Lehigh, Salt Lake, Clearfield, Morton, NFP, GBS, Chamber West, and then we also have local businesses from West Valley, Wingers, Alley House, Impact Cleaning Solutions, Spark Salt Lake, Pro Leasing, Talent Team, MyDB Solutions, JRC Light, and all the other ones listed there. They were all very nice and happy to participate. I got some feedback that I would like to share with you. If you don't mind, I'll just take one more second. But some of the highlights were set up your pace, but know that if you go too fast, someone may fall over. And if you go too slow, you may get to your goals later, but everyone will be aboard. Carino was a good one. It's Carino. Carino, it's how it's pronounced. Assume any information you enter into AI may be compromised. Be the employee who gives more than takes. Offer help and support, expecting nothing in return. Embrace challenges fully and commit to doing your part in contributing to solutions and team success. Don't focus on the who, focus on the what. Coach privately, praise publicly. Team success depends on alignment, shared goals, and collective effort. And we had some feedback. Robert Spindler with Zions Bank told us, let us know if there's anything else I can do to help in the future. Courtney Ray with the state of Utah said, I'm always delighted to help in the future in any way I can. Dave Bloom, the president of Talent Team, wrote, I enjoyed being there. It's nice to see so many acquaintances and learn from your speakers. Please let me know how I can be supportive of your work. And I'm looking forward to next year. And lastly, Suzanne Harrison, a council member from Salt Lake County, was not able to attend. And she said, thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to join. I would love to join in the future as this is so important. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me about future events in West Valley and seek to build our community and support local leaders. So, any questions? So we already have a list going of things to do and make better for next year. So we're excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Yeah, I probably almost talked to every one on our executive staff, and they were happy and appreciative. We had a lot of good conversations about it. Speakers were great. I told HR the unfortunate thing is you set the bar high and now you got to keep going above that. So good luck next year. But no, they'll continue to do a great job with it. Next, we're gonna bring Chief Jacobs up. She's got some really interesting information, some new things we've done that we're excited about. We're excited to see where it goes from here. So thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to first talk to you about the Real-Time Crime Center. In January of 2025, we stood up the Real-Time Crime Center. And this is it right here. Looks like a dispatch center, got all kinds of monitors and information and stuff and things and information that intelligence analyst reviews all that information. And traditionally when an officer is dispatched to a call, they are responding with limited information. They have to show up at the scene and kind of piece it together and figure it out. Today with the Real-Time Crime Center, that has changed completely. You can think of it kind of as the department's central nervous system for information. The moment an officer is dispatched, the analyst begins to work real-time crime to provide live intelligence. The officers no longer walk into an unknown situation without support. They arrive with a tactical advantage. There's instant intelligence with the analyst who is monitoring calls live. They check for suspect history, identify location hazards, provide background information. The analyst stays with the officer throughout the incident, anticipating investigative needs as they develop. They can actually go into their body-worn cameras and watch what they're doing while they're doing it. So as they hear these interviews and suspects provide information, they can do their searches in their different databases to provide answers to whatever questions are coming up as they come up. And it truly is a force multiplier. Officers are able to solve more crimes and more thoroughly investigate incidents so that cases aren't just left active for detectives to follow up weeks later. So some of the information that is fed into this system that they're looking at, it includes live cameras that are in our parks, public spaces, businesses, UDOT traffic cameras. It includes information from a license plate reader system and live mapping and open source intelligence. So this allows them to take what used to take days and turns it into minutes. So one example that happened recently was there was a bank robbery. Officers arrive on scene, suspect's gone, nobody knows anything. The suspect was identified within an hour using the surveillance footage. His vehicle was identified, entered into the license plate reader system, and later the same day, officers received alert from that system and were able to apprehend the suspect and recovered almost all of the stolen cash. So in addition to the great information and technology that this provides, it's also improved officer safety tremendously. We recently had an officer that was unexpectedly and violently attacked by the person that they were engaged with, and he was there by himself. The analyst was in his body worn camera, saw this happening, was able to call for help for him. And officers were able to respond and assist him. So the capability has fundamentally changed how we view the Real-Time Crime Center. It's not just an investigative tool, it's an officer safety system that helps our officers go home safely. I've been really proud of this. It's had a lot of success over the year. It's really been worth it for us. Next, I was asked to provide some information about gang comparisons. So these two pie charts, one represents documented gang members within the state, the other documented gang members that are identified as residing in West Valley City. So when you look at the documented gang members across Utah, they represent less than 0.1% of the state's 3.5 million residents. And West Valley City's got a comparative percentage. So when it comes to gangs and gang activities, gang activity is highly regional, and many groups documented statewide do not operate in West Valley. Our local data reflects that specific groups we encounter and our proactive efforts to identify and monitor them before significantly impacting public safety. So a lot of the numbers that we have, other agencies don't have because they don't put the effort into locating and documenting them. And documentation is a key to actually providing this information because it's very much restricted and monitored with federal regulations as far as who can be labeled as a gang member, how long, what has to happen for them to keep that label. And then the last topic I was asked to touch on was crime statistics. So to keep comparisons apples to apples, they determine the crime rate per 1,000 residents. So you can see that West Valley's crime rate, when it comes to persons crimes, we're a little bit higher than the state. Property, we're a little bit higher than the state. And then crimes against society, which are like drug crimes and weapon possession charges, we're actually below the state average on that particular topic. So when it comes to being a large urban center, our averages and our information is actually really close to the state's average for the entire state. So the reason our property crime is a little bit higher is we have quite a bit of retail theft. And we've put some significant efforts into working with the retailers. Some of them are better than others. But that is a significant portion of our property crime. Any questions on any of those three topics?
Yeah, I have a question
Mhm.
on the real-time crime center.
Mhm.
So how do you prioritize what crimes you're gonna, going through the top of the worm or something? I would imagine it doesn't come in one at a time. So how do you-
Sometimes.
Okay. So is there a way that you prioritize or how you decide where you're going to help?
Yeah, so our crime analyst has the entire dispatch screen. And one of the areas where we would like to improve with the real-time crime center is that we have one intel analyst, well, we have two intel analysts doing it, but we don't have 24/7 coverage with it. So we try and hit the busy days with the more calls that have higher priorities. And it's really up to the intelligence analyst, which call they decide to work on. They usually take priority one calls, which are in progress calls. And that's where they can really do the most good and the most benefit. But when we don't have any in progress, high priority crimes that are currently active, they'll just look through the narratives of the various calls and see which ones they can help with. They've been doing this quite a while as far as analyzing crime and information, and they're really good about determining what areas they can actually help with the information they have available to them. And so, yeah.
You have an idea of how many a day or a week or a month that might be help with this?
That's a very good question. I actually don't have that information at my fingertips.
Just wondered how busy it is.
She is actually both of them. It's she and he, Ben and Katie. They are both busy from the second they sit down until the second they leave because they want to be busy and they want to be helpful.
When did we open the crime center, and then what's the current schedule coverage?
We started it January 2025. I think we tried to launch it right on the 1st. It took us a while to get some of the equipment in, some of the software set up. So it wasn't fully operational until probably March. But I think another good question that I should have an answer to, but I can give you I think the schedule is currently Monday through Saturday. And it's like 2 PM to midnight.
It's when criminals wake up and start doing their thing. Your sleeper earners.
You know, our parents always said nothing good happens after midnight, and it's true.
I have a question on it as well. The camera feeds from the parks and other public spaces. If there's no events happening, how long is that footage retained or? Yeah, how long?
It's actually up to the individual system owners. We don't own most of these products. We just have agreements with them to access their live feeds. I don't know if any of you recall coming before you with the Genetec licensing, that's what coordinates all of the camera systems. Rather than having, like before we had several different systems, probably half a dozen different systems, and Genetec is able to talk to all of them. The integration has been a time saver for sure.
Even the private businesses that are participating in that, they can access that.
If they give us remote access, we can.
Then that footage is used for investigations, or is it just used for intel on what's happening at that particular moment or for both?
It's typically used to follow up on a specific case. They don't really have a whole lot of time to just look for random stuff. That's one of the major concerns with license plate readers and the concerns with privacy when it comes to them. Law enforcement, they don't just look at license plates just to find something. We're typically looking for something very specific. And there's so much information, so much data. If we were just randomly looking, we wouldn't even know what we were looking at.
So do the businesses come to you, or do you go to the businesses that are in a location that would help you see what you need to see?
We go to them.
Okay.
We've talked about starting a program where businesses and even individuals, business or individual resident owners that have like Ring or whatever else, they can sign up and allow us access if they choose to. There's some legislation that might interfere with that, so we're on hold with that, but yeah, there's a lot of cameras out there.
Yes, there is.
All right, thank you.
Jackie.
I'm gonna go back a little. I think in that middle picture, I was trying to count, I think there's 20 screens up there. I think I'm good with my 2, but good on them for being able to work through that. I caught myself a few times telling my kid that real life is not like the movies. But this is a lot closer to like the movies. I think it's a pretty cool thing, pretty neat thing that I've been able to add to what our police officers are capable of, so.
Yeah, a tour of that sometime.
Absolutely.
I come with you. So we're moving through this a little quicker than we thought, but again, we kind of left things open to how much you want to discuss, how many questions you end up having. If at any time you want to take a break, obviously that's up to you, but if you wanted to now, I think that would be a great time. So how long of a break do we want to have? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
6 minutes.
Just go to 10. Let's do it 10.
Okay, 10-minute break, everyone.
We need to move on to. My nose is full.
Turn off.
Yeah. Well, I.
Get a little chilly.
No, I'm not sure. There's. We're gonna go get my.
Little pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only have 2. I'll bring a couple blocks tomorrow.